Welcome to another episode of Whatever It Takes. We're a show that's dedicated to small businesses that are looking to build resilience, looking to hear stories of challenges and how those challenges have been overcome. Today's episode is very special. We're going to cover a topic that a lot of business owners have been asking me about, and that is marrying the complexities of running a business every day with the challenges of hosting a family, a partner, a relationship. And we've got a special guest today joining us, Ryan Gilbank, in full governance, also my mentor, and has played a significant role in the direction and trajectory that I've been able to take in my business growth. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I suppose to balance out, if we're focusing on the business and family, this month wife and I will be married 26 years.
Amazing.
Most of those have been happy. It's been good. We got two boys that are now young men. This year they'll be 24 and 20.
Wow.
Worked various jobs over the years, done everything from retail through to cleaning out filters on mine sites, etc. And worked in a business for about, nearly a decade before purchasing it about 8 years ago. So
right.
We do a lot of labor hire in the mines, as well as another couple of businesses that do consulting and coaching and mentoring and that sort of stuff.
So let's dive straight into it. Okay. I am a father of a 3-year-old daughter. I've been in my relationship now married 7 years as of October last year.
Awesome.
You know, when I set out to start the business, for instance, Your Business Live, there was an expectation I had versus the realities that actually set in.
Yeah.
And I think as I speak with other business owners, I'm tending to see that it can almost turn into a bit of a trap when you're not able to feel like you're winning at home and winning in business. Sometimes it feels like it's one or the other. And when you're not winning in the other, you could have a bad day at the office. You tend to bring that home.
Yeah.
If you have a bad day at home, it's not uncommon to bring it to the office. So tell me a little bit about that from your experience being in this space.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that, like you said, there's almost like the romanticized idea of what it'll be to run our own businesses when we're working for someone else. We have this idea, we'll set our own calendars and we'll start and finish when we need to, and we'll be home doing this and that. And I've already done this role for other people, so running my own business is going to be a walk in the park. Then the reality hits in, and that all of a sudden you're responsible for everything that goes on. If people don't get paid, it's your fault. If something doesn't come through, it's your fault, and it's not like you can just pass it up the ladder anymore. And I think that's that challenge. When you're working for someone, you can sort of go, it's a lot easier to set in place some stuff to go, okay, well, I'm going to switch off before I get home, or if I'm having a bad time at home and I'm heading into work, I'll just shift it. The challenge is for any business owner, really, I don't know anyone that fully switches off. What we have to learn is to not let it actually impact our family and that sort of stuff. And so the challenge can be, we will make work actually 24/7, and the family floats around that, which if you really delved in and spoke to any business person, they're not in business to burn their family. They actually went into business to better their family, to do all these things.
Yes.
Yet they find themselves in a position where they've allowed the stresses, maybe they've over committed, over projected, over whatever, and now their whole world is consumed by the business, and it's actually robbing them of their time with their family. So that's probably I think what you're talking about is trying to find a way of getting that into a balance. I don't think there's any set rules. There's principles that we can do, and each person has different drivers, different ways they deal with stuff, different way they deal with stress, different ways they relax, etc. So you've got to be aware of those intricate little things, but the principles are pretty well the same. And I think the key principle is remembering the why and what's actually truly important. Being on your deathbed, no one is sitting there going, I wish I'd put out that extra office and got it started before I died. Everyone in that moment is going, I should have spent more time with my kids. I should have made that call to my mate that was struggling. all of the regrets are actually time-based with friends and family. And yet we can get lost in this Western culture of drive, get more, get more, get more. You know, that it's always said on all the things, you know, go after it, you know, dump anyone that's not on board. That's a great thing if you just want to be a lonely old hermit.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't work. You'll burn out and you'll die. It just doesn't work. But it's things like this that will help trigger, maybe prompt and help you take a self-assessment and go from there.
So if we were to just look at what are the trends that gets business owners into this trap, are there any key elements that stick out? You go, hey, something's very common amongst these groups.
Yeah, there's probably a couple. One we don't like talking about a lot of the time, and that's usually out of an insecurity or a fear.
Yeah.
So you'll talk to a lot of high achieving business people, and they're doing it to prove to someone else that they can. Someone said they couldn't. Dad never affirmed me. Mum never did this. Or if you really dig down to it, they may not say in the first meeting you're talking to them, but when you start going into the reasons as to why they're pushing so hard, it's because they don't actually feel worthy of themselves. So they're trying to prove to themselves more than anything. They put a label on it, but they're actually trying to prove to themselves, I can do this. I can achieve. I will break through. I will get to this level. One of the things I've learned over the years, even good actions with the wrong intention or the wrong foundation are destructive. And so it just, if the reason you're doing it is out of a brokenness, then it's only going to have broken fruit. Yeah. And so being aware of that is probably one of the biggest issues within business. Is like we go off and we go on these tangents because we're actually still scared little boy or scared little girl that's trying to prove something.
Prove their identity.
It just doesn't work. If you're broken on the inside and you're doing stuff, broken things will happen. You know, it's
absolutely.
It's just that way. The second one is, I suppose, our whole, and you'll hear me say it a few times, I say it all the time, but our Western culture, and I speak into that because I'm in the West.
Yeah, cool.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Is very driven on you can't be satisfied with where you're at because that's got to be weakness. That you should always be going for something more, and it has to be yesterday. It's not a planning for 10 years time. It's like you need to be striving, grinding, get on the grind, pushing as hard as you can every day.
I find it pretty ridiculous, actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes the whole grind culture is questionable in some instances.
It's a lot of young people, of which I was one, that think that everything has to happen now, which is cool. It's great. You got to have a bit of fire in your belly and no hassles. It's just interesting as I've gotten older, and I'll say it, I'm 45, turning 46 this year. What I've realized is things that I used to think were so urgent and so important and needed to be, and if I don't do it now, there's never going to be another opportunity in the world. You know what? Next month, there's another opportunity.
Yeah.
The month after that, there's another opportunity. And what we usually do is we sacrifice the well-being of ourselves and our loved ones on the altar of I need to achieve more. And it destroys stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
and it's evident in our Western culture with the amount of divorces and breakdowns and broken families all over our culture because everyone digs towards this. It's all about me and mine and I need to achieve now instead of, well, it's actually us.
And I think when it comes to, choosing to take the path of running a business, you're not the only one who's taking that sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Our partners, in every sense of it, are walking with us to go on that journey. And I think so often it's thought and played out that, it's just, it's just a job and I'll handle it on my own. But no, there's so many different personalities, dependencies that are sitting on your shoulders. Do you think...
Can I close out that one?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, please.
My dad taught me when I was young, because he used to run a church. They were going through a really heavy time. He sat us and mum and dad and us three boys. I remember sitting in the bedroom on the floor. I would have only been probably 13 at the time.
Yeah.
And his thing was, it's heavy. Everything's hard at the moment. We have an opportunity to move cities. We either stay and grind it out, or we go here and we take on the new opportunities. But he was recognizing that it was a family decision, and we've all got meat or flesh in this game. If you don't want to do it, sons, then as your father, I'm going to honor that and we're going to move to this. So there was like this group buy-in of, so when we all went, no, we're staying, that actually gave him fire, gave him strength, because now, we're down to peanut butter on toast and not always having toast, but we're all in.
Yes.
If that makes sense. And I think that's one of the things we can forget as business owners is, like you said, we forget that our partner, our wife, husband, whatever, is actually in this with us. And we go and make decisions that impact all of that without actually asking. And the thing that we've got to be open to is, it might have been a great idea, but right now it's not working. And if we're not listening to that, we destroy that.
You know, vulnerable conversations I've been having with quite a few clients more recently, actually, given the whole economic situation that Australia is going through at the moment. It seems like it's so important to not be reactive, but proactive, and knowing where the boundaries need to be set.
Yeah.
Because if there is no boundaries and you're just going for it, then you're also taking your family on a really reactive warpath.
Yes. Yeah. And there's two keys that remind me of them. One is the principle of being reactive or responding. And the second one is you've got to have people around you that you actually give permission to go, Alvin, you're being a dick. You need to stop now.
Yeah.
And you have to listen. Because a lot of times we get this mentality in business or whatever. They don't know what they do. They're not running a business.
Yeah, you become self-institutionalized, right?
And we remove all of the voices that would normally speak into our world. My dad has pulled me aside, I don't know how many times, and especially in the early days when the kids were young, and going, you're traveling a lot lately, Ryan. And he'd tap on that, is this a season?
Yeah.
Wow. What is this? And I'm like, well, it's been busy and this, and he's like, yeah, you're traveling a lot. You're away 4 nights, 3 nights a week, every week.
You need people to pull you up on
and
that
it's accountability.
Like,
and I'm going, everyone's doing fine. No, I'm dealing with your sons. They're acting up. They're missing dad. It's like that reflection of, okay, well, I need to make some change. My wife, I've learnt, not easy, learnt over 25 years, she knows me.
Yeah.
She will tell me, you're tired. It was until 5 years ago. I'd never been tired in my life. If she asked me ever, are you tired? No, I'm fine. Because I never get tired. That was my male bravado, whatever. Tiredness is a weakness. It's a state of mind. All that rubbish.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. Now I'm like, you know what? If I'm tired, I'm going to rest. Yes. And I actually perform better. I do things better. But she was telling me and I wasn't listening, which then robbed me of a heap of stuff in the meantime because I wasn't as fresh as I should be. Wasn't as available and engaged when I should have been. And that sort of stuff. So it's like we don't ask for help. We don't push in and find out. And I'm like, man, that's the biggest thing you can do in business ever. Find people that have still got their marriage together. If you're married, you want to keep your marriage together. Find people that have been in business for 20, 30, 40 years. They still love their spouse. Find people that have been able to, that you talk to their kids and they're messed up and all jaded at their dad because his dad or mum was always at work and never with me. Find how they found balance and learn.
I think that is a very good point, Ryan. It's certainly something that has absolutely changed the direction for me personally and my family. Is the moment I started to realize that Alvin doesn't know everything. I know where I'm taking Your Business Live and I've seen how we've grown, but get me in front of a ledger or a balance sheet. I'm not a finance guy. I've got a CFO for that.
Yes.
I know that I need to get my direction and my compass right in my personal life. And I've been graced to be working with you, right? I know that in the business space, I know that there's certain elements of business coaching that I need. So I'm trying to be around agency coaches. And I think that's so important, having awareness of that. But I want to link it to that synergy of home and business. And it's an exercise we're going through, which is being aware of your own personal profile.
Yeah.
It's usable at work to know how you can run a meeting right and how you can get the best out of your people. But how about being empathetically aware of how to speak to your spouse or your kids? And I'm learning that through you. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, in business, I suppose we always are looking for an edge, always looking for a way of being better than our competition, how to have better equipped, engaged personnel on our teams, how to portray the vision in an effective manner that they can walk it out and do it and that sort of stuff. And a lot of people use some sort of profile. How do I lead best? What's my natural traits? There's great ones out there. There's People Keys and DISC and Strength Finders and Myers-Briggs, all these amazing tools, which are all excellent when used. But they give you an insight. It enables you to speak the language that those people will hear, not just the language that you want to speak. So when we look at that side of it, it's why wouldn't we bring that into our home?
Totally.
That same sort of excellence that we bring into work, which is something that literally could disappear tomorrow, that has no bearing. It can go bankrupt. Suppliers can not pay you on time. Things can disappear. Fads can change. Stuff can be outlawed. Whatever. Governments can restrict, trade. Whatever. All of these things can happen, and it'll just disappear, and you'll find something else to do.
Yeah.
But if you don't pour into and get to know your spouse and your family, and learn how to communicate with them, they don't stay.
That's a
You can't
resignation
replace.
you don't want.
Yeah, you can't just go replace. Now, guys will joke about it. Whatever. There's plenty of fish in the sea and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
No relationship ends where both are winners, or one's a winner and the one's both have damage. So it's like you don't want to have to go through that if you can avoid it.
Yes. And the collateral damage that comes off the back of that, right? The trajectory of where your kids' lives are going to go.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff, which I'm sure is actually a bigger ripple effect. So it's a lot better to seek assistance. And I'm just gonna echo what you were saying earlier. There's nothing wrong with seeking proactive help. There are people who have done it before us.
Yeah.
There are people who have got lessons to actually teach us. It's easy to feel deflated. It's easy to feel fatigue. Being a business owner, it's not uncommon to feel that every day.
Yeah.
But being able to know that, okay, my partner has this particular personality or this particular trait in, say, a DISC profile, and responding to her in a certain manner that I may have thought is okay, may have been received completely differently.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like we always talk about when I do the seminars and engaging people in understanding different behavioral styles and personalities and what have you. I always try and put it in the thing that so that people will understand that people hear things differently. Different words trigger different behavioral styles that are just might be normal for you, but it's actually an attack for them. So if you don't learn to adjust that, because if your spouse you're on the same team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the reality. People forget that too.
Yeah.
They're like, fight them at work, fight them at home. No, they're on your side.
Yeah.
So if they're saying something or you're trying to tell them something out of a care and a heart thing and they're not hearing it and they're responding negatively, you got to start to go, well, hang on, as the mature adult that I am, if when I do this, my spouse always reacts and I'm not intending that, maybe I'm not using the right language. The message might still be great, but I'm not actually using the language that they're going to hear. So learning those things within your household, your dysbehavioral, learning how to speak, how to engage, what their fears are, knowing what your fears are so you don't react when they push little buttons by just natural thing and you go, actually, that's triggering a fear in me. They're not doing that on purpose. Or knowing their fears and going, okay, I need to adjust how I do this. It's like if you're a driven entrepreneur, going forward, everything, we're going to take the hill. We're always going to take the hill. We're going to jump off the building and build the plane as we go. And you're married to someone that's more slow moving, wants security, wants stuff. You're freaking them out. If every time you create a new idea, we're doing it today. Instead of going, you know what, babe, I was thinking about this and in 12 weeks time, I'm thinking we're going to do this. Now, this is what I've been doing in prep because I know that it's going to be a fair bit of change, but here's the reasons. This is what will be better for our family. This is what will do better for our time together. This is what it'll do. So you actually give them all the reasons to adjust to change, which is their biggest fear. But if you don't do that, you're fighting a fight that you don't need to fight, one, but you're only fighting it because you're naive to what's actually there.
Yeah, that's right.
And it will be better for them, but you've got to actually bring them on the journey.
So
that's that
like
group buy-in.
Yeah, so I think it's almost like interpersonal skills couldn't be more relevant and more impactful in today's day and age. And look, we're around a lot of noise. Social media, I'm in that space quite a bit. We're distracted all the time. There's all sorts of opinions floating around. But I think equally, it's so important to switch away from that type of stuff as well. And that's coming from me who runs a social media agency. But I think it's really, really important that when you're next to each other, you're next to each other. You're not like on your phones. Bed. That's one of the worst things. And I speak that from vulnerability. Sometimes it's so easy to get pulled into a vortex of Instagram reels and all sorts, right? So it's just important, I feel, to be above the noise. Because it does not help.
It doesn't help. And there's an old adage, what you feed on is what you become. And so the challenge can be, people used to say it all the time, it's like they'll sit down for a conversation with you and they put the phone there and it's like, you got 30 seconds to entertain me, because if not, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to like that. It's not what they're saying.
Yeah, of course.
But the message is clear, because you'll see them, they sit there talking and they go, yeah. And we've all done it. That's why I put my phone that way, so I can't see it. But it's important, because it sends a message, and we wouldn't do it to our client. Like I've got employees, etc.
And that's the surreal thing, isn't it?
That's exactly right. My employees, you turn your phone off, you have it on silent. I don't care who's ringing, what's going on. Your client is what you're in front of. And then we go home to the person we love, the person we're actually doing all this for, hanging out with our kids, doing whatever, and we're taking phone calls going, hang on a second, Dad's just got to... I remember one of my mates, he's a national boss with an international group, and that was his thing. He goes, it was about 6 years ago, and I've asked him for permission. I share it all the time. Justin, thank you. He was literally home. It's like 6:30 at night. His son is talking to him, Tommy, and gets a phone call from work. He's like, hang on, son, hang on. And his son's trying to tell him, hang on. Takes a phone call, talks for about 4 or 5 minutes, hangs up, didn't get back to Tommy. And the next day he's driving to work, couldn't remember what the phone call was about.
Come on.
And he said, that was the moment I decided that is never happening again. I'm never going to devalue someone that I love for something that is not important. And that's a big issue within business, is we think every phone call is important. I have to be available 24/7, and we sacrifice again the people we actually care, because we're literally saying to them, son, you're not important enough at the moment. This person is more important to you. Your wife's going, can we just hang out and go to the restaurant? And you're sitting at the restaurant and you're still sending emails and checking this and that. So you're actually saying to her, you're not important to me right now. This is important. That might be not what you want to be saying, but your actions speak louder than your words. And so we got to be careful if we want to have that group buy-in. And there's so many, like these are all little bricks.
No, but they're very real scenarios.
Yeah, they're little bricks. Yeah, in our foundations, because they all add to, like there's always that perfect storm in business, and you go, and it hits you, and it wouldn't have taken you out had you had these other things in order. But it's funny how all these little things, time with your spouse, your kids feeling happy, you feeling like your relationships are good, you looking after your health, all these little bricks in the pavement, that when that wall or that thing hits, if they're not in place, it's bigger than what it should be. We had a Christmas 2019 and we had clients that held out, not paying on time, and it was a lot of money. My wife was like, we are never doing this again. Away on holidays with the boys and another couple. I thought I was doing all right. Because I'm like, we were literally carrying a lot. I'm thinking I'm doing all right. She's like, you're just terrible to be around at the moment. We're not doing this again. So I had to shift a few things. That's another learning. That's another whole podcast. But that's the importance of going, it actually costs you. Doesn't matter how good you think you are at hiding it, whether you go into the shed because things are going on at home. So it's like, I don't know how to fix that. My spouse or my kids are being painful. I'll stay at work longer. Because I can fix what's at work, so I can feel like I'm achieving. Whereas when I'm at home, I don't feel like I'm achieving. We got to be vulnerable and real enough to go, okay, well, that's where I've got to put my efforts.
I think that is a very honest scenario, right? In the sense that I know, particularly, and I'm sure others feel the same, in your first or second year of business, you're saying yes to a lot of things. But also every phone call mattered. Every phone call was a heart-stopping moment. When I was picking up those calls, or I was addressing those emails within 3 minutes, which really, now that I think of it, I feel like giving myself a slap on the wrist for ever doing that. But at that particular moment, Ryan, I'd look at that and go, oh, I've just helped this customer. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be with me. ignored my wife, they've already gone to sleep because they had to deal with this problem that could have gone into tomorrow. And spoiler alert, I'm putting more damage on my family over time. That's something that all business owners need to be very conscious about. That hustle and grind culture that we got going on, there's nothing wrong with grit.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with grit. It's a good facet to have. But knowing what's the most important things, clients can come and go. So if you close up the shop at 5 o'clock and you're at home, are you looking at the 74 notifications that come through, or that client saying, hey, look, we got a event on Friday. We need you to design a pull-up banner for us, Alvin.
Yeah.
You know, can that wait?
Yeah.
I love what you were talking to me about today about, does it need to be done?
Yeah.
I think it's a good segue.
I think there's two parts of that. With what you were just saying there, one of them is this, and it's a hard question to ask ourselves, but are you lying to the ones you love? And that can be the full stop. Because it's like when we say, I'm going to be home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever time, and then we're not, whether you're in business or working for someone else, doesn't matter. You've lied.
Yeah, correct.
Now,
you haven't committed.
Things happen.
So, yeah.
And it might be, but if it becomes a habit, you're lying, which creates distrust, which is, you're not delivering. You're not being a person of good character. You're literally lying. That one's a hard one to swallow, because we will always, oh yeah, but you know, stuff comes up and I had to do this and I had to do that. Well, don't lie to your spouse.
Yeah.
Tell her, hey, I'm gonna be trying to get back by this at the latest, and give yourself time.
Yeah.
So that's the other part is we often come to that point where we're like, oh, everything needs to happen now. And it's like one of the best things that I've tried to learn, I'm still not perfect at it, is what would be good to happen now and what actually needs to happen now. And one of the things that I've learned, my phone used to always be, I would answer like yourself, 24/7, phone would ring, I'm answering the phone. That confrontation of, are you robbing from your family to look after these people?
It's true.
So now I have automated on my phone set up the message that you can send through Apple. I don't know if you can do it on Android, they're a bit behind, but anyway, but which says on Apple. And it's like, when you ring me, if you're an employee or a client, it says, I'm just with family, or I'm in a meeting. Is this urgent, or can it wait till tomorrow? And 9 out of 10 people go,
that's a great tip, mate.
Sorry,
That's awesome.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, because it's not urgent. They've done what I do, which I do it to my like people that I need stuff done. I go, oh, and I just ring. Like, I need a new gas bottle at home. I just ring. If someone answers, excellent. Otherwise, I'll leave a message.
Right.
It's not urgent.
Yep.
But I still ring their mobile or their landline.
Yes.
And sometimes they answer after hours, sometimes they don't.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. I still leave a message, because I needed to get that out of my head.
Right.
So it's like that same thing. You got to be able to determine what's needed and has to happen, or what is just, it'd be nice if it happens, but it's not needed. Because a lot of that stuff then, just shelve it till tomorrow.
Technology can be used to support us in so many better ways for our mental health.
Yeah.
Right. It's not purely just there to generate income or drive efficiency if in the world of business. You can use it to draw boundaries. Clearly, as an example, is what you just mentioned there.
Yeah.
Is there anything out there that sticks to mind where you go, hey, if more people did this, they might actually find they're buying more present time with their families?
Yeah. I think you got to know your season, which is actually harder to do than it sounds. If you want to be a rock star, that's great when you're 17 through to maybe 25. Maybe when you get a spouse, you probably still got a little bit more time and you can be pushing in, doing gigs everywhere. Once you got a little kid, new season, same dream, but you now have the responsibility of that child for the next 18 years to be either their best dad or mum, to make them into a great husband or wife for someone else, or to damage and destroy them for someone else. So it's a new season. You can't do what you used to do. It's not all about you anymore.
No.
You're now in a partnership with a spouse, and now you have a little kid or another one. It's not about you anymore. You're now, as we say in the old school, you're now a family. So family is about sacrificing for the other people. So the season has shifted, which means you can't do the stuff that you want to do whenever you want. Well, same thing in business. There's certain things that are worthy of sacrifice. And if your spouse is in and you're there and it's not doing, you haven't got kids that it's going to sacrifice it, and you're both on the same page, fantastic, great season. Go for gold, work your backside off, make sure you're getting rest, make sure you got holidays, whatever. But as soon as that season changes, you have to adjust.
We sit there and we measure all sorts of utilization rate and opportunity cost and what we're doing with every given hour, right?
Imagine if you did that with your spouse.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes we just got to be understanding that the highest return on investment, the biggest investment you can ever make is into your family.
Yeah.
Because it draws back in dividends in something called legacy and how they're remembering you for that. And there is just nothing that can compare to that, right?
Yeah.
So
you can't. The amount of people that have been around with mentoring and business stuff, and then guys that are above me that are, they're in their late 80s and been retired 5 times. All of these people have taught me one thing. If you get to the top of the mountain and you're there by yourself. If you're sitting in the top of the Ritz-Carlton and you've got your bottle of champagne and you're at a table by yourself, that's not a win.
No way.
But we sell ourselves, unfortunately, in our culture. Everyone's got to be with me or just dump them. They're dead weight. You'll wake up alone, decrepit, and disheartened. Money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't fulfill your soul. It doesn't give you legacy. It doesn't give you something that you're passing on to someone else. It literally, it's just a tool. That's all it is. And if you've got nothing to outwork it on and to use it with, to bless or to help or to love, then it's just cold cash, as they call it. It's terrible. And no one wants to be at the top of the hill celebrating by themselves.
That's right.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So the importance is going through the grit of entwining into your spouse, entwining into your kids when they don't seem to react and they're 2 years old or 3 years old and they're testing every boundary in the world. Then it's trying to push in again when they're 8 and they're just starting to find the bit of their identity and they don't think you're as cool as you used to be and whatever. And then when they're teenagers and all the hormones are going crazy and they're yelling and slamming doors and crying
Things
and
to look forward to.
all that, and you have to adjust how you parent with them and how you deal with your spouse so you're on the same. But it's like it's a continual thing, but it's worth it if you can combine that so that your family is accelerating and your work is going well. That's the best case.
Let's loop it back, right, to what we opened up this podcast with, which is why we went into business in the first place. The dream is that we're able to take control of our time. I can share in my life, the reason I started the business was to move away from bureaucracy so that I can spend time. I worked in the Central Coast, which is about an hour and a half one way from my place. And I still a 3-hour drive a day. And my daughter had just been born and all I ever saw was her sleeping. And after a point, no matter what salary I was on, no matter what was going on that made me feel like I'm winning, I realized that I'm not enjoying this. I want 15 hours of my life back with her and my wife. There's a couple of things that you can find of integration between winning at home and winning in business. I get the privilege of dropping my daughter off at daycare and picking her up. My wife and I have a good chuckle sometimes. I've seen more fuss out of Alexandra than she has, which is kind of also what was leading me to start a business, to be more of a present dad. So I think as business owners, sometimes we've got to be very clear about what and why we're doing this. And being able to draw clear lines and looking at it and saying, hey, I've got a kid. I get the chance to pick her up. If I want to go sit at that hat parade, I can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, just looping back to how we open up this podcast, it's really, really important that as business owners, we're very clear around, what it is that we're working for every day. It's not always the dollars and cents. It's to have control back in our lives. Do you have anything to add to that?
You do this for certain reasons. So if you're doing the work, also have a list of personal things that this is what I'm going to do this week. So it's the dropping the kids at school, or it's the having a date night with wife, or it's the I'm going to be at the gym. So that if you're struggling in this area of work, well, I've got a list of things here. Do any of them fit?
Wow.
So instead of grinding, because we started our own business so we could control that. So we could be fresh for our clients. We could be give them better service, do all this sort of stuff, and enjoy our life. So if it's like 3 ticks in for the work thing and you feel like you're struggling and it's not working, I was going to mow the lawn. So there's still a win. There's still encouragement. It's still inputting into that personal world. Pick some stuff. Pick a little thing. Pick something that you love that you haven't been able to do since you started the business, that you were like, this is what I'm going to be able to do, and line it up. Don't go do it at the cost of everything now because you're probably overcommitted, but go, okay, in 2 weeks time at this date, this is what we're doing. Like we talk about date nights or whatever, things that actually give you even that little reward for the work you're putting in.
Yes.
And make incremental. You didn't get to that point overnight. You started the business and you were like having coffees with people and it was all exciting and it's going to be, and then all of a sudden it got crazy busy. Well, it's the same thing. You got to steer the ship back until it's manageable.
Yeah.
Chat with wifey or some friends that are real, that will give you true feedback.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And jumping back to a couple of things you've mentioned so far, know the season you're in. I think that's really important. Do it in small increments. I think that was a really good takeaway. Is there anything else that you can sort of share with our audiences in that, hey, do this, it can help you shift the degrees of separation that you may be going through right now?
I learned as a dad, I used to, if I was tired, I'd switch it off. And I walk in the door and it's like, I'm already tired, I'm burnt out, and da-da-da. None of my job doesn't finish until the kids are in bed. So it's just a shift.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just going to keep going through that side of it. So it's like that sort of thing for me is that ability to go, okay, well, if there's something that people could take away is going, well, I want to actually be present, not just be there, but be present. Ask yourself when your 2-year-old's gibbering on, what did they talk about? Because a lot of times we're not actually listening. We're there in body, but we're not listening.
Yeah.
Your wife's talking to you or your spouse talking to you, and we're there. We have no idea what they just said, so we can't actually add any value to it. You know what I mean? It's like, so being present, not just being...
That's right. Hearing versus listening, right?
Yeah.
The foundation of that.
Yeah. So that one's, I think, the big one, because learning that will help you switch off.
Yes.
If you tell yourself, no, I'm going to listen, and you'll catch yourself all the time. You'll start to drift. It's like, no, I'm going to listen. As you do that, all of a sudden you're present. And it's like, that's the most important part because it shows value to who you're with.
And I think just finally, I really loved what we talked about earlier around setting clear boundaries, using technology not only to drive efficiency and drive productivity, but also using technology to draw boundaries.
You can do it politely. It's like that one little message differentiates between, is this needed? Like, do you need to talk to me right this second? Is this is someone dying? Is there some emergency that I need to take? Or can this wait till tomorrow? And then you don't get distracted.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, I just wanted to say a big thank you for coming on the show today. I kind of got the Rain Man thing happening at the moment, going, wow, there's some really good nuggets in here. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.